Be the change you wish to see. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this Facebook Live. I'm Adrija Parashar, a lifologist, and on behalf of Lifology.com, today I'll be speaking about one of the most coveted fellowships in the country and by far one of the most honorable professions in terms of making a difference. I'm going to be speaking about the Teach for India Fellowship. I was part of the Teach for India Fellowship in the 2015 cohort, and I truly believe that education is fundamental for an equitable society. An excellent education provides an individual with the kind of knowledge, skills, and mindsets that are required for an individual to be empowered and also empower the society. It has been shown time and again by various countries that an excellent education can have wide-ranging benefits for individuals and in turn the societies. An interesting fact is that today 1 in 4 people are below the age of 14, which implies that for our country's future, it is imperative that we involve ourselves in this movement towards an equitable education system. This is going to define our future. If we can provide equal opportunities for students across the country, it can make a huge difference to this nation. The harsh reality, although, is that today 50% of the students in our children who are in grade 5 cannot even read a grade 2 level text, nor can some of them solve basic subtraction problems. The harsh reality also is that the socio-economic status that a student belongs to defines the kind of school that they are ultimately going to be a part of, which defines the kind of co-curricular opportunities that they are going to attain, which in turn also affects the kind of opportunities and quality of life that they will avail as adults. And that in turn also impacts the kind of opportunities they will be able to provide to their children. And the reality is that we aren't doing enough for the children of our country. This crisis has numerous causes and is very varied and complex. But Teach for India believes that this crisis is rooted in a crisis of leadership. The truth is that we do not have enough people who are committed towards this movement to together forming a more equitable education system, where the goal should be providing excellent education for all children, irrespective of their socio-economic background. And the truth is that it's not just teachers who can solve this problem. It also requires principals who can support these teachers. It requires parents who are well informed and can take part in the teaching learning process along with the teachers. It requires even bureaucrats and politicians to support and empower those principals to provide more opportunities for their teachers to thrive in. It also requires a level of movement from the civil leaders who should be able to hold leaders accountable in place in case something is not happening. It also requires the corporate bodies to pull in resources and marginalize those resources towards the organizations that require them for providing better education systems. As we can see, this crisis can be solved at various levels, but it requires a movement of people to come together and work towards it. And this is the vision and mission of Teach for India, to provide an excellent education for all children, irrespective of their background. Having given you a little brief about what Teach for India is, I'm going to be speaking about the Teach for India Fellowship particularly now. Further, I will take you through who are the people that they are looking for, what is the selection criteria, and also take you through my experience as a fellow. So the Teach for India program is a 2-year fellowship which offers an opportunity to the brightest and most able young people of the country who are in the best of universities and workplaces to come together and serve as full-time teachers in low-income communities in schools that are under-resourced. And through this experience of teaching in classrooms that are under-resourced, the thing is that the fellows will be able to engage with key stakeholders in education, which involves students, principals, and other leaders. What this does is help the fellows to understand the grassroots realities of education system, which can enable them to hone the knowledge, skills, and mindset required for becoming and holding positions in leadership in other education organizations if the impact has to be long term. Further, by transforming the lives of students in the classrooms, the students also help the movement in its future by becoming more responsible citizens who can take ownership of their situation and empower their communities in turn. The fellows not only transform the students, but also transform themselves in this leadership journey towards educational equity. Teach for India was started in 2006 by Shaheen Mistry, who had been previously working for 17 years prior to 2006 in Akansha Foundation. And she felt a compelling need to gather people and start a movement towards educational equity, because she firmly believed in the vision that one day all children will have an excellent education. So, having briefed you about the fellowship, now I'll move on to who are the fellowship selectors really looking for. What are the qualities of a fellow? To begin with, as I mentioned earlier, fellows are going to be leaders in the movement towards educational equity, which requires people with leadership potential who can take on various challenges during the course of the 2 years fellowship. It also requires people who not only have leadership potential, but also are critical thinkers, problem solvers, have grit, courage, because the challenges that are faced in the 2 years are immense. And also it requires interpersonal skills, which are essential because a fellow is not just dealing with students, but also dealing with multiple stakeholders, including principals, municipality leaders, politicians. So having to deal with so many stakeholders, it is essential to have interpersonal skills that can aid this leadership movement. Furthermore, the fellowship is aimed at a diverse cohort because the belief is that people from different frontiers can contribute to this movement. The fellowship has people from various universities across the country. It has people from various organizations and workplaces. It has even people from abroad. So it does not confine itself to any limited universities, workplaces, or aged group. It has a very diverse cohort, all working towards the same goal. One day, all children will have an excellent education. Now I'll take you through some of the stages that are there in the selection process. It can be categorized into 3 main stages. The first stage is the application process. Now the application process is pretty long in the Teach for India fellowship selection process because it requires them to understand why you want to join the fellowship, what is your exact motivation, and also to understand you completely, which is why it is a lengthy application and it is a very integral process in your selection. Following the Teach for India application, after you have completed this application, you will be given a link to a test, which is also known as AMCAT, which is basically testing your English language skills and basic problem solving abilities. This test link is valid for 4 days. After you have completed the test is when your application is considered completed. So once you have filled the application, given the AMCAT, you move on to stage 2, which is the phone interview. This is generally approximately a 30-minute session on the phone where the Teach for India selection team would just like to get to know you better and kind of figure out any discrepancies that might have been prevalent in the application. Once this 30-minute phone interview is over, is when these first 2 stages are completed, and following this, if your application is accepted and the phone interview has taken all your details, you move on to the 3rd stage, which is the assessment center. This is one of the most essential stages in this selection process because it lasts a whole day approximately, and it has multiple activities lined up for the day. To begin with, you have a 5-minute teaching session where you will be basically presenting your teaching skills, a short lesson plan, and options are already given on what grade you want to take up for your short teaching session, what subject you want to take. So it's completely up to you what class, grade, course you take, and in turn prepare yourself for that lesson plan. After you have completed your teaching session, you'll have a group discussion session. This requires you to deal with a situation that will be provided along with other members who are also participating. After the group discussion, you have a small activity which is basically testing your problem solving skills. This is also an integral part and helps them to assess your problem solving, critical thinking aspects. Post this, you have a 1-hour long interview. It is 1 hour long because they want to get to know you better and also understand your motivations. The reason why this process is this long is because the 2 years of fellowship are definitely very challenging, however rewarding as well. But to truly assess your capabilities and suitability to become a fellow, these 3 stages are followed, post which you will be declared as selected or not. Having gone through what Teach for India is all about, having taken you through the fellowship program, and also pointing out what the fellowships requires you to have in terms of qualities, and gone through the selection process, now I will be taking you through my experience as a fellow. So I was with Teach for India from 2015 to 2017. I was placed in a 4th grade classroom in a very low income community known as Yerwada in Pune, and I had 60 students in my class. When I entered the classroom, I had a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of plans in mind, which I just wanted to implement immediately because I was so inspired during the training process that Teach for India takes you through after selection. But little did I realize the reality that was in store for me. So initially, when you go through the selection procedure, the training, you're assigned a class. And once you're assigned a class, you basically take an assessment of the student just to gauge where the student stands. I was taking English and math. And when I took the assessments, the reality was so harsh that I just could not believe. Students of grade 4 could not even perform grade level 1 English tasks of reading and writing. They could not even do basic mathematical problems which students of their age of any other school would have easily been able to. This was the reality that was facing me, and I knew I had to encounter this and work towards a better goal, a better future for these students. Because I knew that it's not the students' fault that they are where they are, it is the system's fault. And this is what I'm here to change. I was constantly faced with a lot of challenges, but my mentor's words who told me, kid, you'll move mountains, was always there to inspire me. Managers in the Teach for India Fellowship Program are like your guides who are there for you, supporting you through this challenging experience. I had a great school team. School team basically comprises of other fellows who are placed in the same school, who constantly were my aides in this challenging experience. However, after the 2 years, I saw immense changes. When I look back, I could see students who have improved not just academically, but also have become evolved individuals. My aim was not just to make them better students in terms of academics, but also imbibe certain values and equip them for life and create mindsets that are more optimistic and which make them strong enough to face the challenges in life. And by the end of 2 years, I did see a change in them. Academically, definitely they had improved in English and math. But also, like I mentioned, as individuals, they evolved into responsible citizens who were taking care of their community, who were able to plan projects for their community at that little age. From students who could not even speak in English, they became Model United Nation debaters, which fills me with joy and pride. I saw my students take up a lot of different activities which earlier they thought they couldn't. From a school where girls were not allowed to play, I was able to facilitate a girls' football team who even went on to the final of the district, inter-district, inter-school football competition. All of this left me with a lot of contentment that I cannot describe in words. And even now when students call me and tell me that Didi, I'm still taking part in the MUN competition, I'm still writing diaries like you told me to, trust me, that is a feeling of satisfaction that no money in the world can give you. And when I look back, it's not just my students who I was able to change, but I changed as a person as well. The mere fact that you can make a difference is something that you experience through this fellowship, which changes you in multiple ways and provides you with immense values yourself that transform you as a person. So for those of you who are interested in the fellowship, for those of you who are interested in making a difference in this world and making a difference to this country, I hope that you apply for this fellowship and in turn experience the same feelings that I experienced. And for my part, I will continue to being a part of this movement towards one day all children will attain an excellent education. Thank you so much for joining me in this live.